So I'm going to say this, and I usually don't do this. I think I'm going to edit that one and give you all some confetti in the trophy in it on the edit. So I'm
I,
just letting you know when you see
I
this,
like
it's
it.
going to be different.
I mean, our NIL collective was selling the confetti from the national championship game, like for fans to have. There was fans on Twitter winning the auction for this confetti. So we are in a confetti state of mind here in Bloomington,
I
Indiana.
love that. If I think about it, I might have it changed before we finish this episode because now I'm like, what a missed opportunity that I didn't have that there. But welcome everyone back to my college football series. This year I'm doing things a little bit different. Last year I did top 25 teams in college football. This year I'm doing the teams I think are going to make the most impact on the season. So whether these teams win or they lose, they are going to be the most impactful because what happens is going to matter. And so obviously you can't do a series like this and not have the defending champions as part of the series. So first of all, congratulations. This is our first conversation ever. So congratulations to you and your team. And I would love for you to just introduce yourself. And then I will ask the question everybody wants to ask, unless you're a Miami Hurricanes fan, is what does it feel like to be a champion?
I mean, it's really weird. Like you giving me that introduction. Like I just can't even imagine 3 years ago sitting here being asked that question on a show like yours. Like it is very, very strange. So my name is Trent McGee. I am a co-host for a show called Kirkwood and Dunn. You can follow us on all social media platforms at Kirkwood and Dunn. And my handle and where I talk a lot is at ST McGee on X. I mean, it's one of my favorite things to do. It was very nice of you to reach out to talk about Indiana football because we are in this space where not a lot of people outside of the Indiana football sphere like take us seriously, or you do YouTube shows, you get the comments about like people are just so shocked that there's Indiana fans and like, where were you since 2024? And it's like, we were always here. You just didn't care. And I don't blame you for not caring. But I grew up actually going to Kansas State University. And so I was a Wildcat fan in the Big 12. And so I have that as my roots. I started working at Indiana, and that's where I kind of fell in love with Indiana football. I was like, I'm going to go all in on them. So I was a little late to the party. I chose Indiana football in 2017, which when a lot of people weren't choosing Indiana football. Started doing that, and I was working there, and when I left here, I actually now live in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I live like a stone's throw from the 2023 national champions. My wife works at the University of Michigan, and I started to stay connected in Indiana. I started a podcast, and here we are. And now we've got the trophy as you are displaying right now.
I like it. I figured you wouldn't mind if it's a little bit over your name. And I'm like, no. I like winners and I celebrate wins. Okay. Like I know a lot of people don't like winners. Like I get it. That's not me. Like I'm like, you're a champion. I'm going to react as such. I'm going to speak to you as such. And I am going to masquerade it because I love it. And good for you for picking them before they were who they were. What I have found is there's a lot of times where like, once teams start winning, all of a sudden you find fans and you're like, where have you? They're like, oh, I've been here for 2 years. And you're like, you're not real.
I try my best not to be, I don't try to gatekeep the fandom. Like there's very clearly a lot of Indiana fans who are now just paying attention to football. Like our podcast numbers tell that story. We were averaging like 35 listeners in the first year of Cignetti, and now we're averaging over 1,000 listeners. And it's not because I'm good looking or because me and my co-host are wildly entertaining. It's mainly because Indiana fans were mostly basketball fans. Indiana basketball is synonymous, and they started paying attention. And I knew this. Football is a lot of fun, and college football especially is a lot of fun, and people have kind of really dove into it. So I never actually try to gatekeep new fans. We try in our show to like educate, like just like you do in yours. Like there are people that there's not people that are going to do a podcast on football because they don't love it as much as you and I do. So we try to introduce them to that. And so while it is, sometimes our fans do frustrate me in the way that they approach like predictions for the season or where it's at. We can't say anything negative right now because it's like, Cignetti's done no wrong, right? Yeah, it's like, okay, well, I have some doubts about, nope, can't do that. And that's just kind of how it is. But it's a lot of fun, and it's something that is, I'd rather be around a community of people that are really interested, and that's what it's been for the last few months.
Yeah. So if you are seeing this lovely video, don't forget to make sure that you hit the like button. Don't forget to check in the description section so that you can find all of our socials and all the ways to keep in contact with us. And if you want to really engage, leave us a comment in the comment section below. Now let you get back to your video. So tell me about that. So you started so I feel like, in my opinion, what happened in 2024, the 2024 season, when you enter in the playoffs, you have the playoff run, didn't end like you wanted it to. And it kind of, ends the season out of the playoffs, and everyone's kind of like, yeah, we knew they were a joke anyway, right? Everyone's like, oh yeah, whatever, they're out of their league. But then, like last season happens and starts, and you guys win the national championship. Like, what is that ride like? Like, what was it like? Did you feel like you guys were close when you were in the playoffs? Or how did you feel? Like, what was it like for you kind of realizing, like, wait a minute?
Yeah, I think so. Like, even going farther back to that, like the 2019 season for Indiana with Kalen DeBoer as our offense coordinator, now coach at Alabama, it kind of showed that we could be competitive. Like, there was a chance to win there. In 2020, which was a weird year for everybody in a lot of different ways, but like Indiana had a very successful football season, beating Penn State, beating Michigan for the first time in forever, and competing against Ohio State. We didn't win, but we like came back, and it was like exciting, and that like proved that we could do something in Bloomington. And obviously the floor fell out from underneath Tom Allen, and everyone got fired and all that stuff. But then we got a president from the University of Georgia who came in, and she was like, we're going to run this like an SEC program. Like, with this, like, football is going to matter. We're going to put some investment behind it. And everyone kind of rallied behind that. And we hired this coach, Cignetti, who I knew from James Madison only because of App State and James Madison doing that college game day, right? And like, it was like small schools, and it was kind of exciting. And like, I knew him from that. The man comes in with a lot of bravado and like all the stuff that Google me, the Michigan or Purdue sucks, but so does Michigan and Ohio State. Like, all this stuff that no one said about Indiana football. Like, that was just not a thing. And he said, now retroactively looking back, he was trying to wake up a fan base. He was trying to say, hey, he even compared us to Ohio State, and the fact that we're a state school, we're a large state school with a huge alumni base, with not as good a fertile recruiting ground as Ohio, but good enough. And we're one of the southernmost Big Ten schools along with Maryland. And we should be able to pull from the South to get a lot of talent. And he was like saying all these things. But as you know, and the reason why you're asking the question is like, you can say those things, but when do you actually start believing those things? And in 2024, I felt like we were a very, very good team that could upset people. But I've watched enough college football to be like, I don't think we're a national championship level team. Like, I still had it in my old brain, the Georgias, the Alabamas, the Ohio States, the Michigans, of just like, they were built different, their athletes were different, and all that stuff. We come into 2025, and it almost was, I predicted us to go 11-1.
Okay.
So I knew we were going to be pretty solid. But it was still, it almost like the narrative around Indiana football was so negative or in doubt, like you were talking about, that we almost kind of dug in and was like, you guys were wrong about 24 and you're wrong about 25. And when we won at Oregon, I was at that game. It was obviously one of the best Indiana football games I've ever been in my life. But when we won that game, it was like, oh, this team is different. This team can actually win a national championship. But I was worried about Ohio State. When we beat them in the Big Ten championship game, I was like, I don't want to play that team again. Like, that was like, I thought that might be the high of the season. I don't want to see them again. But then what we did in the postseason, it just obviously left no doubt in my mind that we were one of the best teams ever in the history of college football. If you look at a lot of metrics, maybe not better than 2019 LSU. I'm not here to like
debate it.
But they were very good, and they won convincingly in a 12-team playoff. And I think that that's what puts us to now of like, it still feels like there's some doubt on what it was last year. And so that's, I think, where my journey from all the way back to 2019 and today, where it's gone.
I love that Indiana didn't make a liar out of me. either, because I was like, and even people that like know me that are close to me, they're like, oh my God, here you go with your outrageous stuff again. And I'm like, no, I'm telling you, they're going to beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. And I was like, no, they're not. I'm like, I'm telling you, they can grind it out with them. And then so when the playoffs started, I was like, Indiana's going to blow out it. Alabama, like they're just gonna. Alabama came and run the ball. Like this is a joke. Yeah, like in the whole playoffs, and literally, like that's what grew my Instagram, because I stood by it, and people like wanted to argue with me, and then every time it happened, they were like, "What are you seeing? Like, how do you know?" And I was just like, I don't, So I will always be grateful for Indiana. Me and too, like. This as a football fan, sometimes you think you're seeing something, but you're like, God, am I really seeing it that clear? Is that really what I see? And then when it's true, you're like, I knew it. I had a feeling that was what I was seeing. So I loved it.
It's hard. I loved it. It's hard because like there's people I trust in this game, like in the content that I consume, that they were doubting Indiana when they got up against the 5 stars, the 4 stars, the blue chip ratio that we heard. But I was so confident going into that Alabama game. I was so confident going into Oregon game, and I was very confident going to Miami game, and that was more of a slugfest than I thought it was going to be. But people forget that Indiana never trailed, and they were up 2 scores most of the game. But even to that last drive, I was, when they got the ball back, we got the pass, like the roughing the passer call, and Carson Beck got the first down. I was like, I cannot believe this. This is so college football. Finally, a team rises up. But again, a traditional power is going to win, because that is just how college football was compared to like a lot of other sports. And luckily we pulled it out. But I can't say I was never daunted during that last drive. I was a little nervous.
I love that. And, I watch like UFC and all kinds of stuff, and there's always a kryptonite to everything. And the kryptonite in football is discipline and moving the chains. Because you can't beat that. Like there's not a solve for that. And when you have it, it's like, I'm rolling with that team. Whoever that team is, I want them. Like, so.
Well, and that was like the game, like the left tackle, All-American left tackle. He's one of the best offensive linemen coming in this year, in Carter Smith. Like Indiana was ready to win the game because they were like 3rd and 1 or whatever. And they were ready to win in that last drive when they had the ball last. And they had to settle for a field goal because he flinched. And we never saw that from Indiana. We never saw it all season. He did. He says, like, after the game, he's like, thank God my team helped me out. Now, we find out that he tore his labrum in the first half. So the poor guy's probably hurting like none other. But it was, to your point, like Elijah Surratt, who was our all-world catch, like just solid hands, never drop balls. He dropped a ball in that game. I mean, as much as Miami fans want to be like, oh, like we should have won that game and Indiana had to play their best ball, it's like, no, we did not play our best ball in that game.
I know. My whole time, and we'll move on to the questions, but my whole time I said, the only team that's going to beat Indiana is Indiana. They're going to have to mess up. And it's not a disrespect to anybody. It's just like, that is how good I thought they had been all year, and even I saw that in the Penn State win. Because those are the moments you're supposed to fall apart. And when you don't fall apart when you're supposed to fall apart, I'm a fan of that. Like, sign me up for that. So heading into this season, what is the storyline around Indiana that you're hearing or that you're feeling or that you're thinking? Like, I'll be honest, all I'm hearing over and over and over is like, they're going to take a step back and they do it again. But I don't know if you are hearing something completely different about the team because you're more, embedded with the team. Like, what are you all thinking and feeling?
Well, it's still an us versus them mentality in the Indiana football community. Like, it's because we are hearing the national media talk about like, well, we'll see what Indiana, they lost a lot of production and all this stuff. And we actually talked about on our most recent Kirkwood and Dunn, like, I think Indiana won a year early in terms of winning a national championship in terms of their production. I think if you ask Curt Cignetti at this time last year, I think he thought he was going to get Fernando Mendoza for 2 years. D'Angelo Pons, our all-world corner, ended up going pro. He's an undersized corner. You don't expect that guy to go pro. And you have Omar Cooper Jr., who also went pro and had another year of eligibility. And he went in the first round, and he was a 4-star, 3-star kid out of Indianapolis. So, like, there's a lot of different players that I think they were expecting to stay, and this offensive line being so veteran-laden, and there's a lot of returning production, I think people are missing the boat that Indiana actually this is the most talented team Curt Cignetti has had from 1 to 85. And I think that, you lose Fernando Mendoza, and it's hard to replace that. But you get a guy in Josh Hoover that 2 years ago, when you were doing these previews, you probably mentioned him as a Heisman contender. So if Curt Cignetti, who all he does is unlock quarterbacks, can do that, I think Indiana's going to be in a good position. But there's a lot of doubt from national folks, again, that Indiana is taking a step back and they're just not going to be the same team. And we'll see what's proven right. And I think that's the big narrative is, can Indiana prove everybody wrong in the fact that they're doubting that they can keep doing this, or was it just a special group of players?
Okay. Good call out. Very good call out, because that speaks to the discipline. I mean, again, great call out. Okay. What do you think the strength is of this team heading into the season?
Yeah. So the trenches, which is what, I mean, if I'm like, take my hat off and all this stuff and just looking at my college football brain, especially if my gambling brain, I'm looking at offensive and defensive line returning as like a metric of teams that have a very high floor. Indiana returns 4 out of 5 starters from last year's offensive line that ended the year. And then they got an all Big Ten from Wisconsin. And we know they eat a lot of cheese in Wisconsin. Like that guy is Joe Brunner is going to be a beast. So you return all that production. And on the defensive line, we return our 2 starting defensive tackles and return our 3 sack leaders from the previous year. So like there is inside of that trenches and the front 7 in on the defensive side of the ball really puts us in a good position to have a high floor. And you add some skill players, you have another year of Charlie Becker, you add these running backs, like you build around that. Like, yeah, maybe Josh Hoover doesn't have to be a Heisman level potential for us to still be in the college football playoff discussion, which is all I can ask for. So I think that the trenches are the strength of the team.
I'm going to say this is going to piss off some people. I don't really care. He needs to be like a Will Howard.
Yeah.
He needs to be Will Howard. I mean,
I would take Will
respectfully,
Howard,
or JJ McCarthy, like he did. I mean, just don't ruin it for us. Like just don't, protect the football. So,
well, Sonny Dykes, I mean, he said like Sonny Dykes called Josh Hoover out in the offseason about how many turnovers that he had the previous year. And Curt Cignetti addressed it. And he said, he's coming here with his 2 best friends, a great defense and a good running game. Like Indiana's like 60-40. They're going to run the ball. You don't have to put it all on Josh Hoover's shoulders. And I think that's going to put us in a good position.
Ooh, I love that. Okay. What are you concerned about? What is something when you're looking at your team, you're kind of like, okay, this might take us a little bit of time, but we're going to figure it out. But still, it's just something in the back of your mind that you just cannot not think about it.
Yeah. So Indiana fans, like this is where they need to check out, because again, you say anything negative about Indiana right now, it's not there. Like even today, I was talking about our tight end preview and, we didn't return. We have 3 sophomore or 3 second-year players because they're redshirt freshmen, 3 second-year players and 3 true freshmen in the tight end room. Like there's not a lot of experience there, right? And of course, immediately everyone's like, no, this Brock Schott, our like guy we got from Miami, he's going to be great. And I'm like, okay, guys, we can have flaws on the field. It is there.
It's okay.
Yeah, I don't think a tight end make and break as a team. I think that's probably the position group that is the one that I'm the biggest concern for. But if I would look at it, every team in America should say this, like every team in America, it's depth along the trenches. Like I was just talking about the trenches. Every starter is an NFL draft pick and is elite. But what's behind, especially on the offensive line? Like last year, Indiana had 6 guys and they had like kind of 6.5. There was a transfer from Ohio State that was really good, but we weathered our left guard going out. We weathered our right tackle not playing very well and having some injury issues. I don't know if that happens this year. Now, if you got to trust Bob Bostad, who's one of the best offensive line coaches in the country in his development program. But in terms of, we didn't get that extra transfer that you would have probably hoped for to provide some depth on that offensive line. And so I know it's cliche in any football to say like, oh, we got to stay healthy, but it really is. But in the transfer portal era, there's not depth there. No one's building depth along the offensive line.
Okay. Is there something outside of the fan base that people misunderstand about Indiana? Or maybe you just feel like they just don't talk about it enough because they don't know to talk about it enough that you constantly see happen with your team?
I think there's two answers to that question. There's specific, which is last year's, like, the thing we get constantly is about the age of the roster. I'm sure you've heard it on your forums and all stuff.
Yeah.
I like that's exhausting. I mean, did they have experienced players? Yeah, sure. But like, yeah, so does every national champion. Like, that young teams don't win national champions.
Yeah.
Miami had a older.
They're the second oldest, I think.
Yeah, actually, their starters were older than Indiana's starters.
Oh, interesting. Okay,
second oldest, but
okay,
because we had like Solomon Van Horst, who was in his like 6th or 7th year, and he was the 5th string running back, and we had a punter who in his 6th year, like those type of things. But everyone looks at it and is like, oh, everyone's old, and then you look at our returning production, and you're like, well, they must not have been that old if they're all coming back. But so that's probably the biggest thing that gets Indiana fans upset, is just like, that's just an exhausting, lazy take that somehow on the internet, even coaches like Josh Heupel was on Wake Up Barstool talking about that this week. It's just, it's exhausting. But I would say from the other side of it is, I almost don't think, and this is my college football hat on me,
okay,
I don't think we respect enough what happened in Bloomington last year.
Like, I agree. That's fair.
It's one of the craziest sports stories in any sport anytime. Like Leicester City in the Premier League in 2016 is probably the biggest comparison to it. And Leicester City is now like in the 3rd division in English football. And so they like fell out.
That's funny. I think I watched that documentary. Did they have a documentary? Yeah. Okay. I was like, wait, that sounds really familiar. Okay.
Right. It was absolutely crazy. And you're a Texas fan. Like you know, the blue bloods and the elites, there wasn't teams like what happened in Indiana. And for them to do it going 16-0 is incredible. And I think even in the own fan base, we don't respect it enough. Because you're probably going to ask me about my prediction. It's really hard for me to predict we're going to go 16-0, win national championship. Even though, like, I think we're going to be really good and in every game and all that stuff, because of the respect I have for how freaking hard. Sark said no team will ever go 16-0 last offseason, and Indiana did it. And they did it with not the blue chip ratio that we know has won in the sport. I just think it almost is undermined in people's minds of what Indiana did last year.
You know, that is actually a really good point, and maybe what I feel like I'm fighting sometimes, because when I make predictions and videos for the season, I don't look at just like one thing, or I don't look at just a logo. I'm like, who did you retain? Who did you keep? What position did they play? Did they play? Like, and I think you're right, because I think there's a lot of surface level conversations that happen where it just like stops beyond who wins and who loses. And we don't go that step further. That's like, what did it look like? How many penalties, like digging really deep to kind of figure out what's going on. So that makes sense where people just think like, they won. They won. Like, look who they played. And then, but then when you look who they played, you're like, okay, they beat Oregon twice. They beat Ohio State. They beat Miami. They beat Alabama. Like, hello. I mean, at what point do you stop and go, well, you know what? That might be really remarkable. Like,
right?
It's a good point.
That's the thing, that the way they won it, the way they got the opportunity to win it is, sure, Miami was a 10 seed, but anybody watching that Miami defense last year was like, that's an elite defense.
Yeah.
Indiana still goes, and if you watch how they ran on Miami, it's just like, I cannot believe that they were still able to outmuscle Miami at different parts. Now, don't get me wrong, like Desmond Bain was in our backfield just like smacking around Fernando Mendoza. Like, they're very good. I have a lot of respect for what they were doing. But that's just, it was so weird. And for them to win the way they did against Oregon, when you were probably talking about this, like playing a team a second time, especially as good as Oregon, especially as good coach as Dan Lanning, that's going to be really tough. Indiana is the first ever bye team to win in the first round, or the second round. Yeah. Like they were the first ones ever to do that.
And the only, to this day.
Yeah. And so we all are like, is the bye a good thing? Well, Curt Cignetti proved that it wasn't. And they only allowed Alabama to score 3 points. They flew
and halfway across the country
to score 3 points. Never.
And it was never close. Yeah. It was never. Yeah. it just goes to show that everybody, but like I feel like I started with this, like that's why I celebrate winners, because I feel
Yeah.
like we always make excuses for how people win. I don't care, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't care
Yeah.
if y'all, I honestly don't care if y'all would have won every single game by 1 point. Like
Yeah. Right.
it's still like, that's a win, and it's
Yeah.
like we always try to discount wins instead of figuring out how they won. And I feel like that's what happens. It's like, because I don't have to put Indiana down to make Texas look better. I have to say, how can Texas look like that, instead of saying, well, Indiana doesn't have what Texas has. And it's like, no, like they won. Like, anyways, now I'm on a tangent, but it's like I feel like we look at things wrong, and it's like, no, you want your team to be like winners. You don't want to make excuses for why your team should win. Like, what are we doing?
Well, and I know you're in this Southeastern Conference fan base and all that stuff, but man, that whole media days this week leading up to it was all excuses of like why the Big Ten's winning. And I appreciate John Summerall, who at Florida's coach, who was just basically like, I'm not going to apologize for being an SEC coach. Like, we're just going to go try to win football games. And like, thank goodness, like, you're not like Eli Drinkowitz complaining about the autonomous power four game in the non-conference he's got to play, and Indiana doesn't play it. I'm like, bro, you played Kansas, whose FPI was worse than Old Dominion's on Indiana. Indiana had a harder non-con than you did. And we didn't play a Power 4 school. So, yeah, it's just, you're exactly right. Like, don't make excuses. Just go win football games.
Go win football games. Like, stop making excuses. That goes for everybody. Fans, coaches, everybody. Just stop making excuses. Just go win. Who cares? Nobody cares. Yep. Literally, no one cares. Like, just go win. Period. Full stop. Anyways, so I'm kind of speaking also to the Texas people that might watch this. Like, grow up. Like, we're trying to win. Like, who cares?
Yep.
So what bold prediction do you have this year for Indiana?
Well, I mean, the bold prediction, like, how do you predict what would be a bold prediction that would be there? So I'm gonna probably go individual player. I'm gonna say Josh Hoover's at the Heisman ceremony. He's kind of on the outside looking in. Like, it'd be really, there's no record I could predict outside 16-0 that would be a bold prediction, right? So I'm gonna say Josh Hoover at the Heisman ceremony, because Curt Cignetti, he was on Pat McAfee last week. He talked about every one of his players were first team all conference since all the way back to James Madison. And the only player that was not was Curtis Rourke. And Curtis Rourke in 2024, he was second team all conference to the Heisman winner, Dylan Gabriel at Oregon. Like, that's he's a quarterback whisperer. This sport is dominated by quarterbacks. And I think he's the one that can get Josh Hoover there. If anyone can, that would be it. So that would be my bold prediction, that Josh Hoover is at the Heisman ceremony. I'm not going to say he's going to win it, because we get Heisman fatigue very easily in sports.
Weird.
But
it just gets kind of weird. But okay, so some of the fun questions. So besides your own team, who else are you going to be interested in looking at and paying attention to this season, and why?
Yeah. So again, big college football fan in general. And so you do start watching teams based off of Indiana's prospects. You watch them based off of, I want Indiana, like you just said, I'm not going to apologize for Indiana at any point having the easiest path to the college football playoff and the national championship. So I would like teams that I'm respecting, like a Texas, like a Georgia, like a Miami. Like, I would love to see them all lose, not make the playoffs, and make Notre Dame be there. But I'm a big hate watcher. I just love to hate watch football games. Mario Cristobal is one of my favorite hate watchers. I love watching Mario Cristobal lose on Thursday night to Louisville. Like, it gives me unbridled joy. And so I'm hoping that happens again. I would love to watch the hate watch there. There's a lot of SEC coaches that kind of made asses of themselves, in my opinion, this week, that I'm like, you're on my hate list too. Just Lane Kiffin. Like, wouldn't it be funny if they just were terrible at LSU this year? Like, that would be so funny. So, and I like Lane. I actually a Lane guy, but man, I root for the funniest storyline sometimes. That would be it. The team that I think is a dark horse that I want to watch this year is Florida and John Summerall. I actually predicted they're my bold prediction of they're going to win the SEC this year. I think they have a lot of talent. I love their man, I'm blanking on his name, the offense coordinator that they got from Georgia Tech, with Philo, the backup quarterback transferring there. And John Summerall, I think I've watched him at Troy, a lot of Sun Belt games, betting on those games, love Troy, and then him at Tulane. I just think he's a really, really solid coach. And I talked about his mindset, and I respect that. You didn't hear that. Billy Napier made excuses for everything going into it. So I do like Florida, and I think it's a team I'm gonna watch, as they are my dark horse. So I root for my predictions.
Okay. I thank you for admitting that you're a hate watcher. So many people are like, I don't hate that. I'm like, you have nothing positive to say ever. Like, come on, just admit it. Like,
I actually hate it. I hate it when it's like Notre Dame. I like Marcus Freeman, like everything I watch in his interviews, but I hate Notre Dame and their fans. And it is like conflicting every single time. Now, don't get me wrong. Still would rather watch them lose and Marcus Freeman get fired, but I like Marcus Freeman. So it's one of those.
How far are those schools?
So it's about 2.5 hours, 3 hours. Okay. It's just like by highway system, as the crow flies, it's a lot faster, but highway systems make it a little bit more complicated in Indiana to get up there.
Got it. Okay. So every team has something that they wish that they can steal from somebody else's team, or they're looking at certain players and they're like, man, if we could have him and just like pluck him off of there and put him on our team, it would just give me a peace of mind. Who would that player be for you this year in college football?
So, the position groups make it tough. So I'm going to just kind of go off of like what I thought made us really successful last season. That I have some question marks around this year's team. And that would probably be the secondary and cornerback. So I would take Leonard Moore off Notre Dame. Yeah. Please don't show this to Notre Dame fans because they'd be insufferable about it. But Leonard Moore is he's an elite cornerback. And I just we're going to miss D'Angelo Pons being that shutdown corner. Like it was a little, I mean, we always talk about extremes. I know you're an NFL person too, but like Darrelle Revis, Revis Island and like all that type of stuff. D'Angelo Pons would take away half the field. I mean, yeah, Jeremiah Smith got some yards on him, but Jeremiah Smith's like 8 inches taller than he is and effectively didn't get touchdowns in that game against Indiana. We're going to miss that. Jamari Sharp, who got the interception against Carson Beck, and he's on a lot of preseason lists. He struggled at times as the number 2 corner, and now he's going to probably be expected to be the number 1. So Leonard Moore, I would take off of the team, but AJ Harris from Penn State, who was on everybody's top cornerback list. He was from Syracuse and Georgia, Penn State, one of those transfer kids. He was a 5-star kid. He's on the roster. We'll see if Indiana he had a bad year last year, but it's also a Jim Knowles defense. So they put their cornerbacks on island sometimes. So we'll see what Indiana can do.
Okay. I love watching D'Angelo Pons. I always say, if you don't have that type of attitude in anything in life, I don't want you around me. I need that. Give me that all day. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care if I'm tired. Give me that energy. Give me that. So, okay. And what 3 words do you hope to find the season? Now, obviously, we all know champions, winning, natty, all those things we hope. But besides those words, what are some things that or you could say a sentence. I think somebody said a short sentence. What do you hope to find the season?
I think some words that come to mind is justification, sustainability. I think that those things are there. Indiana doesn't need to justify their national championship from last year. Flags fly forever. So I'm not sitting here saying that if we go 8-4 or 9-3 this season, it makes last year bad, but it will just be exhausting kind of hearing the national narrative around it. Right. And so I don't think they have to win a national championship to prove last year wasn't some just mixture of just special talent and culture and timing and all that stuff. I think they just need to, again, make the college football playoffs. They make the college football playoffs. That's the 3rd straight year they've made the college football playoffs. And that's for me, I guarantee you there's a lot of programs around the country that wish they were in those shoes. So regardless if we win it or not, I think that those 2 words, seeing the sustainability. Now, someday, maybe I've done good enough job on this episode that you'll have me back next season. 2027 is a mystery for Indiana's roster and its development. So I'm going to just embrace it this year that this is our year.
You're gonna have the fun this year. Yeah, exactly.
Well, the good news is there's always a transfer portal. So if you want to get into the transfer portal, you can. But I think that the biggest thing is just,
you're gonna have the fun this year. Yeah, exactly. Well, the good news is there's always a transfer portal. So if you want to get into the transfer portal, you can. Well, the good news is there's always a transfer portal. So when you feel like you don't know who's going to be left on the team, you're like, well, worst case scenario,
Right.
we maybe can go grab some people. And I like that you're being, I don't want to say realistic, but I like that you're being, I think the saying like we need to be in the playoffs. Like that is a fair assessment of consistency. Is we need to maintain our high level of play. Now everybody can't win the national championship every year. We don't think anyway. So I like that standard. We haven't seen it yet, but it wouldn't shock me. You know, we're only this is our third year into the 12 team. What is it? Yeah, 12 team playoffs. So
I'm not going to be that guy. Like if we like people are like back to 9-3, 8-4 for Indiana. I'm like, we never were 9-3 before Cignetti got here. So like, I don't back to, what does that even mean? Like that's, we had a hashtag called 9windiana, and it was like a joke amongst it. Like we were striving for 9 wins and we didn't get there until 2024. Yeah. Like it was wild.
A lot of people don't. I mean, respectfully, let's be honest. They haven't taken any time to see what Indiana was doing before. So you know, there's only certain people that have probably took time to invest and see like how far did this go back? So yeah. And I appreciate you calling out 2019 too, because now I get to go do some more research and be like, okay. And that even makes me feel even better. So because I'm like, I have things that I think. And so anytime I can use anything to kind of further along what I think and I can give my reasons, I love that. So yeah. And then my final question is just who on your schedule worries you the most? Like not the teams where you're like, because if you guys like this year, if y'all lost to like Ohio State, no one's going to be like, oh, Indiana sucks. They lost to Ohio State. But who are the teams where now, because of where Indiana is, are you looking at the schedule and you're like, we have to at least beat them. Like we cannot lose to this team.
Yeah, I think there's probably a lot of teams that qualify for that. And honestly, if Cignetti loses to anyone outside of Ohio State, Michigan, and I guess USC, Washington fans are going to be mad that I didn't put them in there. It would be a shock because one thing that we've learned in the Cignetti era is that when he has a talent advantage, he smacks teams, like just thumps them. When he is out athlete, like the 5 stars, the 4 stars, anytime he's ever struggled, the Ohio State game in 24, the Notre Dame game in 24, the Penn State game, even though Penn State was a dumpster fire, they still had a talented roster.
They did.
And Indiana, while they were leading most of that game, and then they self-inflicted like penalties and all that stuff, let Penn State get back in that game and took a miracle to win. Those are the types of teams that he struggles with. So I would say, you know, the game I'm worrying about the most is probably at Michigan after the coming off of the Ohio State game.
Oh, I can see that.
Not that what you said, like if we lose Ohio State and Michigan back to back, we're probably a problem. If we go 1-1 in those games, we're still probably making the playoffs. But I think that there is some level of Indiana has to continue to keep their we are the new power in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And Michigan is a team that I really respect Kyle Whittingham, what he did at Utah. I don't think Bryce Underwood is that good. I think he's going to he has time to develop. I just think that they, for some reason, continue to rush him. They don't have much around him. They didn't have much to come in and compete against him. And so if Michigan were to win that game, which will be very tough, I think it doesn't set Indiana back, but it puts Michigan back into the pecking order of it's not just Ohio State, Oregon, Indiana. It's now Michigan. You got to talk about Michigan. So I think that that's the game that you win that game in the big house, which we haven't won since the 80s. I think it's the game that can make a statement. And if you lose it, it's kind of annoying.
Yeah. It's interesting because you guys play USC this year. I'm fascinated.
East of the Rockies, USC. It's a different USC. They go to the Eastern time zone. Lincoln Riley reverts to, I don't know, a Billy Napier coaching ability. It's just they're terrible.
It's crazy.
In the Eastern time zone. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I'm because I feel like USC is kind of in this boat too, right? Where it's when is the time? When are we coming back? Right. When are we? Yep. And that's such a huge game just to see what it's going to look like. So I think
USC has more of a chance of beating Ohio State and Oregon at home than they do Indiana on the road. That is just my hot take for you.
I think that's fair. But I always judge, like, I get it. Football is judged based on if you win the game or lose the game. I get it. However, I want to see how they win or how they lose, because that tells me everything I need to know more so. I always tell people, yes, I care who wins and loses, but I care about the other stuff, like how many rushing yards did they have? Did they turn the ball over? Like all the little nuances. So I'm just fascinated because it helps me to understand, like, where are you? Like, are you losing because you're, throwing the ball away? Okay, then I can't help you. But if you're losing because it's like 3-point game and you barely lost, I love that.
Oh my gosh, we are in a position where we're talking about USC having a close game in Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana, being a statement loss. Like, I mean, that's what we're talking about. That's where Indiana is. It's crazy.
Yeah, welcome. I love it. And I love a good figuring out like where teams are. So anyways, well, thank you for like saying yes, obviously, because you didn't have to. Some random person was like, hey, you want to come talk to me? How to do this thing? Like, what do you think? And so I appreciate you like being here and being willing to chat with me. And also I appreciate you just having a conversation. I feel like so many times we're so, I don't know, maybe we're just humans and we're so like structured in our ways. And it's like, sometimes let's just talk. Like, tell me about your team. I'll tell you what I think. Let's just engage about this. So I appreciate that. And for everybody that doesn't know, all of your information will be in the description. Awesome. I will add it in there. And then anytime, once everything goes live, I'll also tag you and all the stuff too. So you'll have access to retweet if you choose, or do whatever you want to do with it.
For sure.
So we'll do that so they can find you there. But anything else you want to say to end this? We'll end on whatever you have to say.
I absolutely love college football. It's great that we got shows like this that, people can come get caught up on it and get ready for the season, because we were literally only 6 Saturdays away, now 5 Saturdays away since Saturday yesterday was over. So like, it is one of those things that I am so excited to see how this all kind of translates and turns out. And it's a wild ride, and it's the off the field stuff and the on the field stuff that makes college football so unique. And I'm glad there's some fans that were watching your show, and hopefully some Kirkwood and Dunn fans are watching this because they see that I'm on it and stick with it, because you can't get enough football. So thanks for having me on.
Yeah, you are so welcome. We'll have to do this again. I will find a reason for us to do this again. Or if you need me for anything, if Texas plays Indiana, like, sign me up.
I was just actually thinking about, we do these like drafts on our show during the off season. I'm like, okay, I'm going to invite her back. I'm going to invite her onto a draft next off season.
I'm all about it. You just let me know. Thanks.
All right.